Hey everyone, my name is Sam. Thanks for checking out this video. If you get to the end and liked it, then subscribe, bell notification, and give the video a thumbs up. I wanted to talk about the books I accumulated this month. I didn't... As soon as I start, that's when... No, can you go up there? You don't... He never wants me to pick him up. As soon as he hears me start filming, suddenly he's gonna act for the camera. What? Why are you shaking? So, I want to talk about the books that I managed to accumulate in the month of August. For some reason, for most of the month of August, I was writing July down in my reading tracker. I don't know why August didn't register to me, but anyways, I didn't really do a ton of impulse buying this month, and everything I bought, I'm like super eager to read. I have no issue with, like, after I left the bookstore, some books I'm like, Sam, you know you just wanted to buy a book and you couldn't find anything you wanted, so you just bought this book. But I didn't have any of those this month at all whatsoever, and so I wanted to show you. A good chunk of them were like pre-orders, or I was waiting for them to come out anyways, or I've been watching and eyeing for them, or they were sitting in my cart waiting for a sale and whatever. So let's talk about the books that I managed to accumulate in this month. He doesn't ever want me to touch him otherwise, but when he gets camera attention, and then he won't make eye contact with the camera. I don't know that he can actually see it. Whenever my mom FaceTimes us, she goes, "Hi, Sherlock," and he loses it, but he can't figure out where her voice is coming from. So starting off, I got my pre-order copy of Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I'm really disappointed they didn't do sprayed edges the way that they did for the first one. My friend Ryan said that they did for like certain indie stores in a super limited amount. And there didn't seem to be a way to find out what indie stores and if you were ordering one, which is probably the stupidest setup I've ever heard for a publisher in general, let alone someone as big as Tor. So I don't know why they bothered to do, even for a first run, if you're not going to do a first run special edges for the whole series, why are you I feel like there was more hype for this book than Gideon, so I don't know why they did that. It's especially frustrating in Canada when you don't live in a city center with 400 indie bookstores to call. I have one used bookstore in my town, and Indigo. That's it. Nothing for like 6 hours until I hit Edmonton. Yeah, so this is the sequel to Gideon the Ninth, Lesbian Space Necromancy. I also saw when I was on Goodreads that they have a title for book 3. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it is on there if you're excited. Everyone seems to be loving this as much as they loved Gideon, if not more, so I'm uber excited to be reading this. I'm going with October. October's so close. It's in space. It's got necromancy. That just sounds like Halloween-y, so we're going for Halloween for this one. Oh, sorry, just because I didn't do this before. The end pages for Harrow the Ninth is blue with these black skulls. And then the underdust jacket does have the skull. So that's what I don't understand. They have the skull underneath like they did in the first book. And the end pages, but they didn't bother. I also ordered a copy of Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. I'm so excited about this. I didn't pre-order it because I ever so naively assumed it's a romance book. It's trade paperback. It's got England in it. Of all the books for my shithole Indigo to actually have in stock, this would be one. But this is also the same bookstore that, to celebrate Talia Hibbert's second book, Chloe Brown's sequel, instead of bringing the second book in stock, they brought Chloe Brown in stock. So they're a full book behind. Honestly, the Indigo up here just sucks balls. So I gave up and ordered it online. They don't even order the stock. The staff at the store don't even order the stock. It's some people in Toronto. Why the fuck would you do that? Why wouldn't you have the people who live in the community, who see what people are coming in and asking for? Anyways, I picked up Boyfriend Material. I finally ordered online because I've just given up. My Indigo is just shit. But someone, we have a fake boyfriend, a situation that we need a fake boyfriend for a little while, and like the opposites attract, and like, oh, they maybe fall in love before, well, it's supposed to be a fake relationship. It's a bigger book than I thought it was going to be. It's over 400 pages, I think. and it's on my September TBR, so I may actually have started reading this by the time this video goes up, or the few days after. I'm very excited to read it. I love the cover so much. At the same time I ordered boyfriend material, I picked up You Add Me Ola. Actually, I think I technically pre-ordered this. I think I ordered it a couple days before it came out. It's so good. I've read it since I got it. I read the audiobook through the library before my physical copy showed up because I just was super eager. I loved it. And we are doing a group read in the TBR and Beyond book group this month for this. It's so good. And I know I looked at it and I was like, ooh, telenovela-y. And then it really has a lot of those influences that the main character is starring in her first kind of, essentially it's insinuated, it's basically Netflix, a legal kind of family drama comedy thing, and she is the main character, and there's this big emphasis put on Latina representation, but they also both have their own backstory, that she just got out of a messy breakup and is being dragged by her ex, who's just kind of a douchebag. And then we have the main male lead in her show, which shows up, and he has a bit of a messy backstory, and he's trying to get out of the kind of telenovela stereotype he's been put into and get into just other types of acting, and it's his big shot. And, you know, obviously they two have a romance, but they have a big background thing, and I feel like there's a lot of good discussions on representation in Hollywood in here as well. So I absolutely adore this. The cover is so pretty, so freaking pretty. It's all matte, but the text itself has a little bit of, it feels the same as everything else, but it does have a little bit of a reflection on it. I feel like I waited forever, and finally my copy, oh, I forgot to take the pretty protective thing off of it. Anyways, my copy of the Declaration of the Rights of the Magician, sorry, I should actually just take this off so that I can actually tell you what the dust jacket is like, because a bunch of you apparently really like that I do that. And I was also like, honestly, the reason I do it is because I find it infuriating when authors are like, oh my god, my finished copies are here, and they just show you the front, and you're like, what's the under look like though? Are there end pages? Is there anything on the under? Ma'am, continue. And they never. So my first, I think this is the first book I got with the Goldsboro Sci-Fi Fantasy Fellowship that they do once a month. They pick an adult fantasy, and it's normally signed, normally numbered, and sometimes they have different dust jackets or edges or whatever. So I think this is the first one I got with that membership. It took a while to get here. It was way slower than the second book that came through them. I don't know why that happened. But anyways, Declaration on the Rights of Magicians by H.G. Perry. So this is the Goldsboro edition, so it is signed. If I can, oops. Oh, there you go. It is signed. I got number 836. It is. So, and I know it's supposed to be book one in, I believe, a duology, and it's a debut work. I have just been so hella curious that, sorry, there's nothing on the under dust jacket. It's just blank. And yeah, I have been insanely curious about this since I found out about the book coming. Sweeping tale of revolution and wonder in a world not quite like our own, it is in the age of the Enlightenment of new and magical political movements, from the hypnotist Robespierre calling, man, I haven't had to say that name in a long time. Sorry, I did a lot of French Revolution courses and stuff like that in undergrad, so I know the characters of the French Revolution quite well. Actually, I had a teacher teach in a full 8-month 2-course, it was literally called Revolutionary Europe Part 1 and Part 2, and her specialization was in France, and we never fucking left France. And that was the tenure professor at our university, but the good ones that had amazing lectures and whatever were just contract. So, sorry, but anyways, my favorite professor in undergrad ended up getting in trouble for, like, sexually, like, trying to groom a student. It was a whole thing. Anyways, for Robespierre calling for a revolution in France, to the weather mage Toussaint Louverture leading the slaves of Saint Dominique to freedom, to the bold Prime Minister William Pitt legislating the use of magic in Britain. But amid the upheaval, there is an unknown force inciting violent conflict, and it will require the combined efforts of the revolutionaries, magicians, and abolitionists to unmask the hidden enemy before the whole world falls into chaos. Which just sounds like revolutionary Europe, and if you don't know anything about revolutionary Europe, because everything happened as a wave, basically, and the only country that stopped the revolutionary wave from going in their country was Russia because of their authoritarian leader, which I hold a whole research paper on. Anyways, it sounds very interesting. I'm super curious about it. I haven't heard any reviews though about it. I'm wondering if it has like a big cliffhanger is what I'm concerned about, because I feel like I'm just going to be really into this book. So I kind of want to know when the second book's coming out before I actually read it. But anyways, very excited about it. And this is what the cover looks like. Completely flat, but it's still very pretty. So every month Indigo has a adult, a YA, and a children's middle grade pick where they'll discount the book. It's a different one each month. Oh, and then they'll also have like a throwback to an older book. And so the month of August was The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune, which I was thrilled by because it's Tortine, and I hate supporting Tortine, but I really wanted the book, so at least, I don't know, maybe they got less money out of me slightly? I don't know. Anyways, The Extraordinaries, and I have actually read this since I got it. It's amazing. Honestly, if you like The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is his adult book, his adult fantasy, think that combined with Renegades by Marissa Meyer, but with like the humor and everything also incorporated with The Incredibles, the movie. It's a very weird mix-up. There are several times where I burst out laughing. There is gay, bi, lesbian rep in there. There's a male-male romance, female-female romance in there. The main character also has ADHD, and at one point, he gets off his meds as like a rebellious act to his father, and then like this whole chaotic storm of things happen. And despite the fact that his dad is a cop in this book, which I had a hard time not wanting to just yeet his dad out of the whole book because of that. It's an amazing book. But in addition to that amazingness of the book, the end pages are this like robin's eggy blue, and then the underdust is the same color, and then the spine has this fun like typeset. And then the underdust jacket, I don't know if this is just for the first run or not, but it has this like cartoons drawn out. As you can tell, it's like a superhero fan fiction-y centered book. And honestly, if you like The House in the Cerulean Sea, I would be very surprised if you read this and didn't like it if you're a fan of YA. It's wonderful and fun. But our main character writes fan fictions about the superheroes in his world, and he has a big crush on one of them. And there's a superhero in his world who has like a supervillain in that world as well. And we're gonna find out who they are. And he has a messy life, and he has anxiety issues as well. His mother died at the hand of a robber, and he has this lingering fear that his dad, who is a cop, will, you know, be next, and then he would be without parents. And then the whole crush on the superheroes, and his friend that has a crush on him, and his ex-boyfriend, and this whole chaotic weird triangle. But then it's literally added an element of like Renegades and The Incredibles into it. It's very funny. I burst out laughing in several scenes, and it's also just very pretty. They put a lot of, I know Tor can do it, they put a lot of effort into the design of this book. So I also picked up The Space Between Worlds, and this was one of my few impulse buys of the month. I did not hear of it until like I think a couple days before, because I do the new releases post in the TBR and Beyond group, and then when I posted it, everyone responded, "Oh, I got The Space Between Worlds, I got The Space Between Worlds." And I was like, wait, why have I never heard anything of this book? I think it was in the Book of the Month box, but they're an America only based subscription, so I don't pay attention to what they have. But anyways, this is the US cover. The UK one is black with a person's face kind of there silhouetted with like purple dots floating around. I think I like this one more. I wish they would have put it on like holographic-y paper. I feel like this would have been like just like perfecto, you know, design or something, but they didn't because it's North American publishers. Why would they? The underdust jacket is plain, nothing done on that end. But I just know it's supposed to be a really wonky time travel-y book, and everyone who read the ARC seems to have just loved it so much. So I bit the bullet and paid $37 Canadian for this book, though I did have $20 I think in Plum Points to discount this, so I don't think I ended up paying that. But an outsider who can travel between worlds discovers a secret that threatens her new home and her fragile place in it, in a stunning sci-fi fantasy with both a cross-dimensional adventure and powerful examination of identity, privilege, and belonging. Which I also picked up a finished copy of Paulo, Santiago, and the River of Tears by Taylor K. Mejia. I actually was lucky enough to pick up an arc of this, but I ended up giving it to my friend Melanie because she just loved the La Lolita, because she's a big fan of horror and everything like this. So it is a messing of the La Lolita story. I'm so curious about this. Another one, October, is going to be an October read for the information content alone. The end pages are green. The front dust jacket has a little bit of glossing area, including this like ghost person that I didn't even notice the first time I picked up the book, but there's a couple, and the text is lifted as well. And the underdash jacket is that Rick Riordan purple that he seems to always do. And then those are the spine there. So I'm very curious. This is Taylor K. Magee's middle grade debut. She wrote the We Set the Dark on Fire duology, which I adored the first book. The second book was pretty good too. So I'm very, very curious to see how much I love this book. I also picked up A Queen of Hiding by Sarah Kozlov. This was another one of my like impulse buys when they've been sitting in my Indigo cart. I was waiting to see if they would go on sale because then you get like, it's easier for me to just open the Indigo website on Mondays when they put their sales up and go see if it's on sale, right? Instead of having to type it out and whatever. I know that the 4 books of this series are out as well, so that made me even more curious. And I've been seeing in a bunch of places it's being pushed as like, oh, the new Game of Thrones. I highly doubt that, but and I never read the Game of Thrones, and I only watched the first couple seasons of that, and I have zero interest after everything that happened at the end to finish that off, and the series isn't even done being written. I just give up with that. So I'm curious about this, and it was super not expensive in Canada anyways. Debut author Sarah offers all 4 books in a breathtaking and cinematic epic fantasy series in the vein of Naomi Novik's Uprooted. I think this was like also a big story because they released like all 4 books within the year. They like Elise COVID it, you know what I mean? Like I think it was like every 2 or 3 months one of the books came out. The ultimate fantasy for fantasy fans, binge an entire series. I think this was like a big thing because it was like Tor's dummy, like trial of doing this kind of release process, if you know what I mean. Orphaned, exiled, and hunted, Cerulia, Princella of Wearendale, must master the magic that's in her birthright, become a ruthless guerrilla fighter, and transform into the queen she is destined to be. But to do so, she must win the favor of the spirits who play in mortal affairs, assemble an unlikely group of rebels, and wrestle the throne from a corrupt aristocracy whose rot has spread throughout her kingdom. Sounds like our world an awful lot. I didn't buy all 4 books just because it's a new author. So I'm going to read this book probably, I'm thinking December right now. My brain is thinking it's like high fantasy it's because of The Witcher. I think December and I think The Witcher, even though The Witcher isn't coming out again this year in December. I don't even think they were able to start filming it because of COVID. So maybe it's because of The Witcher. But anyways, I will try this probably in December. I also picked up a finished copy of Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I have an arc of this that I still have not read. I think this actually, I'm on hold for the audiobook because I heard the audiobook is great. So I'm on hold for the audiobook through my library. So whenever that does come in, I will pick it up. Hopefully I can do it around October. That'd be cool. Honestly, I picked it up because A, she's a Canadian author. B, I loved Gods of Jade and Shadow, her first book. And C, she hit New York Times bestseller. And then I looked and Indigo didn't have any of her books carried in store. I don't know if they under-anticipated the want, because this book has been on New York Times now for like a week, or for like a month. So they've sold a ton of copies. So I don't know why it took like a month or so to get copies into Indigo stores. It wasn't even my store specifically. If you went on their website, it said not available in stores, order online. And I was like, what? So nothing on the end pages. Oops. Nothing on the pages, nothing on the end pages. Under dash check is like red, and then the typeset on there. All I know is that the main character has to like go help her family members, 1950s Mexico, and she has to go like rescue her cousin or something like that. I'm very curious. I hope one day the author will write something set in Canada from her perspective. I'd be just very curious, especially because we do have, not in my community, but we have people from Mexico and Canada, so, and I don't know that that's a representation I've read, like, at all, ever, so I'm curious. My second Goldsboro Sci-Fi Fantasy Fellowship pick showed up as well this month, The Story of Silence by Alex Myers. I have read this since I got it, and it was wonderful. It was pitched as queer King Arthur everywhere I saw it. It's not actually King Arthur, I should specify that, but Merlin is there. The time period is, you know, that King Arthur feel and everything like that, and that geographic space. So it's more so about that queer element, as the main character is born a girl, but because of the laws that were just changed, her parents need her to be a boy. So at birth, they were prepared that if they have a girl, they have to hide it and raise it as a son, and, you know, they'll figure things out and hopefully the rules will change. And then hopefully, well, their big thing was like, after, maybe we'll have a boy. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen when her mother dies quite shortly after she's born. So it's the story of being raised as a boy and then trying to understand this balance between sex and gender in this time period, which is an interesting, difficult thing that we even discuss now in 2020. So I can't even imagine trying to have those discussions in like Arthurian time periods. So it's very interesting. And it was just a fascinating read, and it is also transgender owned voices. So I would highly recommend this. This is the UK version from Goldsboro. There's also one from, I think it's called Lonely Planet, that my friend said she was buying me, that it's pink, and pink is actually the one that is the UK, or is in North America's version, but the Lonely Planet one will have a pink spine with stars on it, and I'm so excited because the cover has the stars on it. I'm so excited for that, and I loved this book, so I'm very happy to have 2 copies. So because this is Goldsboro, the end pages are this same teal color. The end pages are this gray, and then it is signed by the author. I got number 276. And then, I don't think they did anything. Yeah, the underdash jacket is plain, and then the spine is that pink, which makes sense because the pink is the version, or the color at least, that's going to be on the US version. And I think it's on the traditional UK version. This is just the special Goldsboro one. So I highly recommend this. I love the cover design alone, but I was also very happy and impressed with the book. It's also debut work, I believe. I had this in my Indigo cart and just waited to see if it was going to go on sale, and then I saw it was on sale for $20, and I was like, yay! And then I went to my bookstore and they had copies. So I picked up Blood and Honey by Shelby Mahurin. This is the sequel to A Serpent and Dove, which is witch marries a witch hunter. Chaos ensues. I think book 1 is severely overhyped. The way people talk as if it's like the end times book and it's the most amazing thing ever, though it is an excellent book. So this is the sequel to that. I'm going to be doing October, a reread of Serpent and Dove, and then pick this up because honestly the ending of Serpent and Dove is completely gone from my brain. I have no idea how it ended. So I'm just, everyone seems to be loving this book as well. The end pages are black. The underdash jacket is the same kind of red there, and then the spine there has the little snake and the bird on there. So it's very, very, very pretty. I also picked up the only copy that my store had of A Rogue of One's Own by Evie Dunmore. This is the sequel to, I think I said A Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue another video ago. No. I don't know why I confuse those, to Bringing Down the Duke. So it's not, or sorry, it's not really a sequel, it's a companion, I guess, technically. So, the characters of the first book are not, the main characters of the first book are not the main characters in this book. Instead, we are switching to, I was going to say Lady Annie, and I'm like, that's not right. Lady Lucy in this book, it's her sort of story of romance while fighting for women's rights during the suffragette era. Is very white representation of the movement, we shall say. So just be aware of that. But honestly, I loved the general message of it. I just loved the writing and everything of the first book. I'm in the middle of reading this book as we speak. So yeah, I'm super excited. I have no idea how long this series is going to be, but I love the polka dotty zigzaggy pattern. I don't know if you can see it quite in the, I don't know if it's going to show up on camera at all, but oh, you can kind of see it there. Yeah, it's got this like zigzaggy thing in the background, and I like the cartoony designs of these romance books. Also, I did see on my video a couple videos ago, I was commenting on like the cartoon designs changing in romance, and someone commented something like it's because racist or something like that. I didn't understand what they were saying, so if that was you, could you further explain in this down below? That doesn't make sense to me. If someone's going to be racist enough to not buy a book with a black person on it, I can't imagine they would buy it if it's a cartoon black person. And that's an all-white cast. I don't know. I think it's just they've separated the kind of romances a little bit more by the cover designs, which I think was a great message. And a great message. That doesn't make sense. A great idea, because I have an easier time locating the kind of books that I want to read. And lastly, I got my copy of Where Dreams Descend by Janelle and Angeles. This is the Owl Crate edition, so it has the design on the actual book. There is no dust jacket. Oops. Someone I'm friends with on Instagram was very nice enough that they read it, or they got it, they read it, they didn't want to keep it, so they offered it to me, and so I got it. So it's all black dust jacket, and then there's the spine. I am curious if Owlcrate is going to do one for the sequel. They just announced the sequel cover, so I don't know, maybe they'll do it the same black with the blues instead, so I'll be curious about that. I also plan on reading this in September, so I just hope so much that I love it. I know it's supposed to have a lot of Cara Valley sort of vibes and Phantom of the Opera-y sort of vibes, so I'm insanely excited to read that, and I don't know if it'll let me open. So the end page is on the Owlcrate edition here. And then, oops, it is signed by the author as well. I saw the regular edition that is in the bookstores is red on the under dust jacket and has this like gold hanging chandelier. So that's very pretty too. So yeah, those are all the books that I managed to accumulate in this month of August. Yes, August. I'm really happy with everything I bought. I have read, or I'm about to read, quite a few of those as well, or I have plans for the very most part of them as well. So I'm just insanely excited to read them when I do read them, and I'm really happy with all of them, except for Harrow the Ninth, which should have had... I'm just so frustrated with Tor Publishing. Anyways, those are the books. I will link them all in the description box down below, along with all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back. Wear a mask when you go outside. Black Lives Matter. Register to vote in your area. Anyways, yeah, I'll see y'all later.